As you can see, this Honda is red as an alcoholic's nose. Behind me, or just alongside there, or just behind me now, is a Honda. It's a Honda Civic. It is the Honda Civic TI, which means very little to me, but apparently to the Americans it means Type R, which is confusing for Americans. The first thing I noticed though is looks like some attention to detail quality. Look, rubber seals in the door shuts. I like that. It's locked. Nice. Look at that. Seals to make sure that the water doesn't get in and the air doesn't make too much noise. But they neglected to do it on the back, so that's a bit disappointing. Half a job. If you like cars, you'll like door shut sounds. And that's where this car seems to be quite good. Listen to this. Nice, it's smooth. But for some reason, the rear door sounds like it's from a completely different car, from a completely different manufacturer, which is a typical Japanese trait. This car looks a bit like the one it replaced, which was the pointy, angular Honda Civic that looked nothing like the previous one and was very, very popular because of its pointy, angular shape that some people said was a bit like a spaceship. Yeah, spaceship looks. Sounds like a bit of a cop-out to me. You could say that about anything really, couldn't you? Look, Dr. Crane there with his spaceship looks, inspired by the aliens that came from Manchester. Like all cars of this generation, the lights are up high. So we have lights, eye level or high level, whichever one you want to call it, actually at the same level as the rear lamps, which seems a bit pointless. You just want like a great row of lights behind you wherever you go. That's alien spaceship stuff for you. I've got to say actually, this car does fill me full of thoughts that I can't quite explain. It is a bit heavy on the bottom end, but then there's nothing really much going on until you get to the top and all this busy light stuff going on. There's kind of flat surface there. Do you know what it reminds me of? Do you? Yeah? Well, kind of swimming goggles. Simon has just told me one of the reasons why he really likes this car, and that is that it's not a Ford Focus.
It's true, it's not.
Yeah, that's an inspired comment. Now let's have a look at down the side. The rear quarter looks, well, it looks a bit piggy. The rear door looks quite big, but as it's a completely different design to the front, looks a bit awkward, I'd say. And then the front end with its slopey bit that looks almost like it doesn't really want to have a bonnet, kind of makes it all work. What Honda have done is they've taken a back end, a door, and then another door, and then a front end, none of which fit together until you stick the whole lot together, and then somehow it works. But they must have some forward thinking there to actually discover and realise that that would actually be the case. Because if you just look at the back end, it looks like it's confused. If you just look at the front end, it looks confused. And if you was to take all these panels off and line them up somewhere, you would assume that they came from 4 different cars, okay? What about this front? The front's clearly inspired by the old Civic, but it kind of looks like a wasp with a bra on. Yeah, I know that's difficult to imagine, and you don't really see wasps wearing bras, but that's just what popped out into my head. It looks like he's wearing a mask as well. Is he wearing a mask or a bra? I don't know. And then we have wheels. Grey wheels, which are 17-inch, which is typical. They look a bit like the kind of Type R wheels that would have been on an older Type R, Honda Type R thingy. And then maybe, are they the standard wheels or are they Type R wheels?
They are Team Dynamics wheels because the TI is the British Touring Car Championship.
Too much information. Quite like to know what this idea is. It seems to have carpet in the arches, front and back. Will this carpet be as good as the interior carpet? We're gonna have a look in the back. That's a nice soft handle. Right, I'm gonna inspect the carpet actually. And the carpet is, yeah, it's the same stuff as in the arches. The magic seat arrangement, it's quite a good idea actually. I mean, because most people who drive a Civic wish they had a van, don't they?
Yes.
Yeah. And the boot is quite big actually. Without these bags in there, a man like Simon could easily find himself stuck in there for 10 minutes.
There's a thing here as well.
All right, a little under tray storage thing in lieu of a spare wheel.
Yes.
From me, the boot and storage compartment gets a tick. What we need to do now is open the door of destiny and have a look inside. Here we are, inside the Honda Civic. Are we looking for quality or just cheapo stuff? Well, Honda always were kind of a premium brand, really, as far as I'm concerned. Toyota did the really good durable stuff, but Honda did the stuff that was nicely made. So let's start with the basics. Nice material, decent enough buttons, and yeah, they don't have quite the tactile feel of the old Honda, such as the Mark V Honda Prelude. That was a fantastically put together car on the inside, but this I think is actually good. Everything feels, well, nice. Oh, I don't know what that is though. From the top to the bottom of the centre console, we seem to have this almost declining level of importance due to it getting smaller and smaller till you get to there. And that button there, the aircon or whatever it is off, I would say is a little bit in the way of the gear stick. What a little stubby gear stick that is though. That's kind of cute. It almost feels like you're being abusive to it. And it looks a bit like Elvis. There's quite a nice leather wrapped steering wheel with some buttons on it, of course. We have to have buttons on steering wheels these days. It's even got an information button. Is it information? What do? You press it and then ask a question. It's like a Google like you press it. What's the capital of Greece, Honda? Are they aliens or ghosts? I can't quite figure out which one it is. Both of them suit this car quite well. Look at that. This is just like the Mark IV Prelude dashboard. And there's the economy mode button. Look, it's a big green button that you can't miss unless the steering wheel's in the way, which it is. There's a telephone button there as well. Also, ever so slightly out of the way. And then there's door card. That's not properly attached, is it? What's happened there?
Horrible, isn't it?
Is it supposed to be like that?
I don't know. That's what it was like when I got it.
Oh, it's starting to go down the hill a little bit. Look, there's the same on the other side. Oh, hang on. What's going on here? In true Honda fashion, that door card looks like it comes from a different car from this one. And now I'm in the back of the Honda Civic and there is adequate room. Even with the front seats as far forward or as far back as you can get, it's actually not too bad. And there's plenty of headroom as well. Not sure whether this is continuing the Honda spaceship tradition, but these headrests look a little bit like teddy bear robots. So far then, this car seems to be a bit of a mixed bag of confusing style, reasonably good interior, with bits of interior that don't really seem to be as good quality as the rest of it. That's a pity, because this is quite nice material here. This car is also one of the very first I've ever seen with the lady driving mode. It's a very special and thoughtful feature. If you're a lady, which let's face it you might be if you drive a Honda Civic, you may want to get into your car and drive it with your high heel shoes. That being the case, there's a special button here that you press that somehow accommodates your shoes. Now Simon is assisting me here by opening up the bonnet of the Honda Civic, and there we have an engine which I believe is a 1.8.
Yes.
Not 1.6.
No.
Powerful Honda lumpy thingy, and it looks very, very exciting indeed. In fact, what I will say is that on a 2013 car, it's unusual to open the bonnet and see an engine rather than just a load of plastic.
That's true.
So I'm impressed by that, if only I was interested. And on the road in the 2013 Honda Civic, what's it like to drive? Well, it's exactly as you'd expect. What you'd expect from a Honda Civic is ease of driving. Clutch, light, steering, light, just everything in the correct place, and predictable basically. Because after all, this car has to be driven not just by enthusiasts, but people who can't really drive. It's good. It's very light. Well, I mean, yeah, it's okay. I won't go as far as to say it's exciting, because it actually isn't, and I won't go to say as I don't like it, because I do like it. I could live with this. I could live with driving it. I'm not sure I could live with looking at it. Currently, we are in economy mode, which means that basically it's going to be a bit more economical, which is, well, important, isn't it? And in economy mode, it's not supposed to be quick, is it? How fast is it, Simon? No, not Simon, sorry. What's your name in the mask?
Mask Man.
Mask Man.
Yeah, that's it.
The reason why he's wearing a mask is because I think it's important to protect his identity. I do feel a bit like I'm driving around with a teenager with ADHD at the moment or something. Like, you've got to wear this mask because you know it's either a punishment or you don't want your friends. Is that what it is? You don't want to be seen in the passenger seat of a Honda Civic.
That's it. That's exactly it.
Let's try that then.
You still have to rev knackers off it.
It kind of feels the same.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
But I tell you what, it handles well. I mean, I'm not pushing it really hard, but I'm just going around this bit of a roundabout here, and it's nice and flat. And do you know what it reminds me of?
Go on.
Rover 25.
Oh.
What's that? Why is it bonging at me? Do you mind if I just rev it a bit?
No.
That's a very smooth delivery.
Mm.
Now, what I'm going to say is that picks up in exactly the same way and probably with exactly the same performance as my Rover 25.
Ooh.
So, with how many horsepower has this got?
130-ish.
130-ish. So, maybe that's power to weight ratio almost the same.
Mm.
And it doesn't, like you're right, it doesn't have that same kind of VTEC kick that the old ones used to have. It's a bit more linear, isn't it?
Yeah. I think it's set up to deliver more torque at the bottom end than it is power at the top end.
Yeah.
But it's still lacking a bit.
It is. Well, yeah, it does feel like you've got to be quite committed to it, doesn't it?
Mm.
Now, it would make sense for this to, in some ways, you could say, to be the spiritual successor to the Rover 25, because, of course, there is a connection, isn't there?
Mm.
Yeah. And if the Rover 25, which obviously this review isn't about, but I don't mind gate crashing the party somewhat, was to be still around today, I'd imagine it would drive just like this and feel just like this and be the same size and be just as awkward in its design.
Do you think it'd have soft furnitures on the doors though?
Yeah, I do. I reckon it would be like this, probably. In fact, I reckon it would be this.
You reckon?
Yeah. And that's going to be the title of the video.
Okay.
I reckon it is. What about it then?
So when I got this, I was looking for the Mark before TI for this because it had a bigger, more Type R type body kit on it and a lovely Pioneer sat nav on. But closest one, because they only made a few, were like 250 mile away. So I got this one that were only like 10 miles away instead. So it got less miles on it, but it's not got as many toys, which is a bit grump inducing.
It's got a 6-speed box.
Yeah.
So is that it? I thought it was an exciting story. You said something much more interesting about it before. I don't know what you've done. You had a bit of practice with your story and you cocked it up, haven't you?
Maybe. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's because they didn't make many, or did they? Say it's British Touring Car Championship Celebration model.
Yeah, I did actually. My attention did wander off a bit there. You see that lamppost there? That was inspired by spaceships. And you know what? So are those TV aerials. You see that camper van there?
Is it inspired by spaceships?
Yeah.
Wow.
So, what do I think of this Honda Civic TI? I'm not sure what its other name is. What is it, an EP29?
I have no idea.
Right, good. Do you know what I like about it? It's actually a car. Unlike, although it's got quite a lot of the features of all modern cars, it's got an ignition, it's got somewhere to keep your key, it's got a handbrake rather than a stupid electric button, it's got an engine that you can actually see. That's three things that car manufacturers decided that weren't really important, but Honda realised that they still were. So that gets a point from me for that. Thank you. In summary, as a more modern everyday car, I reckon actually this kind of nails it because it's simple and it works It's not over complicated. It's got a few modern things with it, but it still has that carness about it that everybody seems to be trying to escape from, because having an appliance like a fridge is more important than having a car.